ready, steady, go.
Good morning, my listeners. This is Wiktor Doctor, and this is Good Morning BSS World podcast. Another episode and another with my special guest, who today is Pawel Panowicz, APAC Delivery Lead in SoftServe, Poland. Welcome, Pawel.
Welcome, Wiktor. Welcome, everybody online.
Do you know what are those?
I think I know quite well. Drumsticks.
Yeah, I've got drumsticks in my hands, and the reason of that is that both of us, Paweł and I, we are drum players. Although I am staying in Warsaw, he is staying in Wrocław, but this is one of our hobbies which we share. The other hobby which we have are actually the business support services, and in this case, we are moving into IT world. But as I described your position, there is APAC Delivery Lead. What does APAC mean?
So APAC is a shortcut from Asia Pacific. So it's to describe the area in a globe which consists as for like the name Asia, and the Pacific region, which consists Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, and of course all Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, India, Japan, everything in the region, and all this is called APAC.
But you are staying in Poland, and correct me if I'm wrong, but usually it is like that companies from APAC region are supporting or servicing or providing services to the countries or to their clients who are based all around the world, including Europe. In your case, it is the opposite way around. Am I wrong?
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Interestingly, it's the time difference is that we start that they are starting before us. So usually everybody are used to the working to the late hours. In our case, we have to work early hours, which in Poland is quite good difference, because a lot of people like to start early and have the rest of the day for their family and kids and doing some hobby stuff like playing drums, in my case and your case. So that's quite a positive from my perspective, and that's what we do.
Okay, and what's the time difference? It's like 6-7 hours?
Yeah, depending on the time, depending on summer or winter time, it's around 6 hours.
Okay, so we know already some kind of geography and timing connectivity between Asia and Europe, but the purpose of your activities in that region of the world are IT services. What kind of services actually do you provide over there?
So the services are exactly the same what we have in profile as a SoftServe. So we are able to provide full projects from definition of backlog, like the customer have the idea, to some outsourcing and supporting their teams if they need. But we are focusing a bit more in the region on so-called FinTech. And the FinTech is the banks, but also including insurance, all the companies which are working around money, we can call it like this, but also what's more is that the companies who are using the technology to be in a lead position to take advantage from the technology to help themselves and also the customers to bring better value in their offerings.
Okay, so we already have few words from you once it comes to the types of the services which you are providing to the FinTech industry. Maybe let's take one step back. How did it happen that actually a company from Poland appeared in the APAC region? Was it always on your line of your services that you always wanted to be present in the APAC region, or actually this just came, for example, behind your selling process to one of your clients or something like that? How did it happen? What was the start point?
The start point was one of the customers. So SoftServe began his journey as an IT company in working for the customers from US, and this was our baseline when 27 years ago the first General Electric project happen. Throughout the years, we of course were gaining more customers in United States, and because we were a company from Europe, naturally we were starting to looking for projects in Europe as this was our base, and also European market was growing within the IT business. So a couple of years ago, when we had those two markets quite well established, and we had a customer from the Singapore, which we have until now. The story was that SoftServe acquired Polish company from Białystok, and one of their customers was the customer from Singapore. So this is how it started, that we've begun to have customers in that region. Throughout a couple of years, we continued working with the customer, and internally, two very brave gentlemen who were already heading. One of them was John King, who was heading sales department in Europe. The other one was Alexey Merkulov, who was and who is still heading the biggest account in the SoftServe, which is Cisco. Decided together that there is a good idea. The APAC region is quite advanced within the IT. It's also a huge market with a lot of opportunities. If we have already a customer there, why not to move there? They did, of course, some background research. We started preparations, and more than a year ago, we established our legal entity in Singapore. John have moved together with our sales director, Alfie, to Singapore. So we started with 2 people. Currently, there is already 3 people in Singapore, and we are growing, hiring, and also moving some people from Europe. And also throughout the year, we acquired a few more customers. So main reasons, as I mentioned, we had already customers. And the second very important one was that we saw huge potential, and we still see huge potential in this region in terms of working with the brightest and fastest companies in IT world.
So let me summarize it and understand it well. So you started your legal entity over there in Singapore. You have already a couple of guys over there who are in place, and their role is most probably just to represent the business and also to sell the services. But the service delivery is actually being done from Poland.
Yes, it is. Yes, okay. Exactly. So that was a strategic move from SoftServe. We want to grow Poland. We are well established in Ukraine. We have also quite good office in Bulgaria. We were growing in Poland, but we want to grow faster. The best way is to, of course, force business to have to work with Poland. So the idea when we were establishing APAC business was that the sales will be locally, and the delivery will be from Poland. That's why I was brought to the picture, and my goal and my still main purpose is to build the team, create environment, work out on the processes, understand the work and the culture of APAC, create the processes to allow people from Poland easily work with the region, hire managers. Managers have to hire then the team, and currently, so we started with only me in Poland, and currently we already have around 10 people, and the pipeline which we have already is probably will finish around 40 or 50 people in the unit. But of course, for our customers, it's not only people from our unit, but also we use our resources from other units and who are currently available in the company, but solely employed for the unit, it's going to be around 40 people. So it's quite a growth and quite a action to get there.
So come on, moving from 10 to 50 people, it is quite significant growth, I would say.
Yeah, and a lot of challenges, of course.
Oh yeah, definitely. Have you ever been to Singapore? So if you all are supporting this region, did you ever go there?
So I haven't been in Singapore, but I have been in Indonesia. So when we started, Exactly 1 year ago, over 1 year ago. It's probably it's currently 1.5 years almost, because it was January last year. The COVID came. I have had a good chance, and I think it was complete luck that our first one of the first customers, which we have the first new projects, a new customer was from Indonesia. So I went. It was end of February, beginning of March, when I went to Indonesia exactly for a project, together with two technical guys from our side. And just after my return, all the borders went closed, and all the COVID have grown in the numbers of cases, and that's why all the countries came to the conclusion that the lockdown is necessary. That's why it blocked me from being in Singapore, and currently Singapore from over 1 year is still in a locked position. They are a very small country, so also they are trying to preserve as much as possible. They are doing it well. So I'm still looking forward when everything will be unlocked, when we will be vaccinated, and then the world will start forgetting about the whole pandemic case. Other than that, I would probably be already like 15 times there, right? Because of the customers and all the interviews. So that's a pity. But it's a new world, so we have to find new ways how to engage with customers. This is also quite interesting topic.
I am more than sure that once you go there, you will love the city, the country, because this is actually how we should describe this location on the global map. I've been to Singapore a couple of years ago, and I must say that I love the city, the organization of the city, the downtown, the cars, fantastic cars which are on the streets, and magnificent food. But anyway, let's come back to our main subject. If you already have a legal entity over there, you are already having a couple of clients, you are delivering the service, so the services are being delivered by certain group of people. What kind of skills does this team have? So who are you looking for actually to join your team to provide good quality services to your clients in the APAC region?
I wouldn't say that it's much more different than from looking for people in other regions. Definitely you look for the best talents. There is one thing which definitely is important here, which is a certain feel for cultural difference and certain openness to look how others behave differently than us, learn that, and also use it in the day-to-day communication, because that is one of the biggest differences which I observed. I was working in my career. I have been working for many years in telco industry, and I had customers from Europe, as well from North Africa region, from South America. So I have been in the multicultural projects already. By the way, that's quite of a twist of the history. My first project after my graduation, when I joined Nokia Siemens Networks over 10 years ago, was Banglalink in Bangladesh. And after 3 months or 4 months being in the company, my first delegation ever in my life was 2 weeks in Dhaka, in Bangladesh. So somehow this Asia popped up already that day, and said that was my first customer, and for quite a few months or even a year I was working for them. So I acquainted already some sense of the cultural differences. I was there in Dhaka as well, so this set also my view on how world is different for a guy who was 20 some years living in one country, working in one country, changing and looking how people in a totally different environment works and live was quite mind-opening. So then I came back, and most of my customers were in Europe. Then I transitioned to London, and then after years again come back to APAC. So this twist was already somewhere in my life, and this cultural sense and kind of an empathy which you have to have is definitely very important. People in our team Most of them have already some experience in living in other countries. So that this is some factor which we definitely look into it and looking forward that people with such experience, because they understand from the day one, they understand how to approach the customers from the region, right? That the way customer is transferring the information, especially nowadays when you cannot travel, sit with the customer, sit with the person on the other side, chit chat about daily stuff, feel him as a person, you then definitely are much better in sensing what the person on the other side is willing to say. You just have the monitor, and then this is definitely something which is much more difficult. So you have to pay attention to those details around how they transfer the information. If they are not, they usually are not so straightforward, right? They don't want to hurt you, they don't want to offend you. This is also something very important. It's also how we deliver the information. We have to also be very sensitive to that. So this is one of the topics which we look into it. Other than that, of course, standard things: writing, agile, willing to learn new things and execute the work.
Okay. When we are talking about being present on the foreign markets, usually one of the questions which come to our mind is the competition. Yeah, because okay, working for the clients who are next doors, it is much easier to understand the competitors' market. How it is in your case? Is it hard actually to find yourselves so long distance from the delivery center? Because if your client is over there, the delivery center is in here, a few thousand kilometers ahead, different time zones. How does your approach to the competitiveness looks like now?
The competition is huge. Generally, IT world, main competitor, even for the companies from Poland who are operating in European Union, in London, the Great Britain or US, the main competition comes from India. It's no difference in APAC, of course, because even India is much closer. It's like a local stuff for them, right? So the India is like a preferred vendor. Same in Indonesia. Indonesia is also a huge country. They have also internally quite big market. So I would say that main competitor, other than local resources, if we, for example, speak with customers from India or Malaysia, or it's India, of course. And here there is not much bigger. The difference is always there, but the things which we are using to differentiate ourselves are similar to what we do also for the customer in the US or in Europe when we are being compared with India, right? So we are playing the ball which we are good at, is the technology advancement of our people. In SoftServe, we are definitely putting a lot of attention to growing, and that our employees, our people are on the edge of the new technology, and that they are the best, that they are getting the best trainings which we can do, and that they are gaining the best experience. And that's what we use also as a differentiator, and that it what works, because we as SoftServe, as one of the biggest Google partners in US, this is also almost the same in APAC. APAC is even, I would say, much faster in transition. It's kind of similar, like we had a situation in Poland some years ago with GSM coverage, because the GSM came to our country quite late. We started from a different position, right? And we grow. So if we compare, for example, GSM or LTE or generally mobile coverage in Poland compared to Germany, for example, we are in much better position. Our service delivered to people is cheaper and in a better quality than Germany. And this is because when we started. And this is also something which is visible in the market in APAC. There are, of course, some countries like Japan or Hong Kong, which they are advanced in general because of the history. But a lot of countries started a little bit later. And now because of the size of those countries and the market, And also because of the bright people they have, they are growing and they are moving with really great pace. So, for example, Indonesia, they have 4 or 5 unicorns already, which is like Gojek or Bukalapak. And those companies are, even though they are working in the transportation or e-commerce or FinTech world, they are driven by technology. And the technology is something which is in the core of those companies. And that's why also cloud, big data, machine learning, those stuffs is not, those things are not different from them. It's like a basic tools they use. And also they need the best guys who can help them to advance. And from one hand side, they are on the verge, but from the other hand side, we are closer to the center, like to Google, to US. We are working with those countries since years. So we also naturally also have people who are very advanced in those technologies and areas. And that's why our services are being valued in the region, because we are coming with the experience. They don't have to learn. They take us, we learn them, we teach them, and it's very often working together. We are rarely coming to do the project completely. It's more that they are also requiring the people from the APAC. Their approach to doing the project is that, okay, you bring the technology, you bring the knowledge, but you have to teach us. So this is like a common, like a partners. We are working very often more like a partners than the customer and the vendor relationship.
Mm-hmm. And besides this teaching, what are the main things which the clients from the APAC region take into consideration? Are those costs, for example? Because for some of the clients, the cost is the most important and then all the rest. Or it's rather quality or maybe something else?
The answer is very usually it depends. But I think I can say that 2 things are usually in a game. The cost is, of course, something which everybody are looking into it. But in most projects, because we are, it's difficult to compete based on the costs only within India and people who are in the region, of course. So we are usually engaging in the areas where we are definitely better positioned in terms of a technology, and our people and our experience is much higher, and we know it because customer couldn't find anybody else, and they are coming to us or by some reference, and we are being referenced as a GCP expert or the big data migration expert, or maybe like the request is to deliver proper machine learning model, and this is also something which we have been done since many years. So that's why we are in a good position to be in such discussions. So 2 things are always in the game. We are trying to be in the quality and the experience side. It's rather difficult to be in the quality, although in the cost. Although it happens that we, with our quality and our experience, we are able to do the same work with shorter timeline and with less resources than our competition. And that's also sometimes is the case that then we can work on the price level, right?
So the time delivery.
Yeah.
Okay, Paweł, the last but not least, but let's take a look into the future. Because we know where you started, we know where you are. You already mentioned that the team is going to grow up to 50 people, most probably in the short period of time. But when it comes to the growth of the market as it is, as we are now talking about the APAC region, do you think that this is rather going to be a slow growth, or we are going to experience rather faster growth of delivering services from such region, like, for example, from Poland?
I think it's going to be rather fast. Of course, it depends on how we, as people from Poland, adapt and learn and use the the tips and tricks which are being shared by our customers. And I think this is the biggest blocker or roadblock for the fast growth, to understand the communication, to understand the needs and deliver those responses to those needs. But as I look into the region and as I look into the opportunities they create and the solutions which they create, I think they will have a really huge demand on the best talents and people who can help them with building and inventing. So helping, they have ideas and they need someone who can make it happen. So I see here a huge potential, really, because as mentioned before, US, Europe, we are quite advanced already. We are, even though we are well established and our companies are since many years doing the IT transformations, still the demand in EU and US and then Great Britain, it's huge. It's still more than we can deliver. So imagine that you have countries like Indonesia, 270 million people, over 5,000 islands. The problems and the challenges or opportunities which they have are much different than what we have in Europe. And the amount of those opportunities is at least the same size that we have in our region. I think even bigger. They are growing, and they are growing faster because they are advancing faster. And they have a more, in some areas they have more to do. In some areas, like for example FinTech, I have a feeling that they are already much more advanced because they are not so conservative in some areas as we are in Europe, right? Like the banks which are over 100 years old, and we have the processes, changing those processes, changing the behavior. It's just a huge technological depth. There, they started around 60s, 70s, so they are not so far, but they see that the technology is something which then can push them even further than they are right now.
That was actually my extra question about if this is only FinTech, but you already mentioned that this is just one of many. So probably the other industries outside of the financial world, so including banks, insurances, and those type, they are also open for this kind of partnerships, international partnerships, which might help them to grow the technology support in those activities which they do provide to the market.
Yeah, and even I would say that the good example is Gojek, the Indonesian huge company. They were founded a couple of years ago, but they are already a unicorn. They are using own benefits and own already established position to grow in other areas. For example, they've started as a kind of a Uber of those of Indonesia. Instead of cars, they are using scooters. So even this is this kind of company that the name of the company is currently being used for the service. So if you order a scooter to drive you somewhere, you order a Gojek. Even if this is a competitor, you order a Gojek. So this is like this type of company, and they started from this business model. Of course, it was backed up by application. That was the main thing which boosted their in the region and their position and their growth, because they had this application where everybody can have it on a mobile phone, easily order. But the problem of Indonesia is that not many people are yet, if you compare the whole amount of people living in Indonesia, not many in percentage have access to the banking. But you have to pay for everything every day. So instead of using money, if you have already almost everybody using your application and you have such a huge subscriber base, they've started thinking, okay, let's use it and start delivering, for example, other services on our platform. Maybe let's use our Gojeks to deliver some service that you can order a guy who can take some stuff for you, grocery, even go to the government, wait in a line and take care of some topics which you cannot do because you're at home, or you have the position which allows you to pay somebody to do it. Or even go further, let's create some FinTech wallet, for example. And they did it. They created own wallet. When they had a wallet, they created an option that you can use the Gojek driver to top up your wallet. So you can give him the money and the guy is topping up your account. So they are very innovative way coming out from own business model to enter totally different, or theoretically well-established business model of banks and FinTech, but from the different perspective and different angle, right? Using the technology and using the base of the customers which they already have. So this is something which is for me quite extraordinary when you see such a huge country and totally different way of thinking, right? Which would be probably not possible in Europe because everybody have, for example, banking. So that's why I'm saying that in this region there are some things which are being done differently, which creates opportunities much more different than we have here.
We started with SoftServe, we are ending with Gojek. Fantastic story, by the way, about how the business grew. But I would like to just finalize it with one final question about SoftServe in APAC region. So do you plan, actually, besides those commercial presence in Singapore, to have also operation center of SoftServe over there?
Yes, definitely. So currently we are starting with Poland, and just to mention the 40 people which we are looking for, it's going to be Python developers, Java developers, the people who will deliver the business. So we are heavily recruiting on this field because in FinTech world, especially, those technologies are main ones due to well-established processes and well-established, and most of the applications are written in Java. In terms of the AI, machine learning, then Python is the king. So that's why we are looking here. But we are also aware that being here is not enough, especially in the COVID times when you cannot be there physically. You cannot take someone, put into the plane. Nowadays, it would be not a problem, right? If you have a customer meeting in 1 week, and you need somebody technically or some architect or BA to be able to discuss with the customer on the different level than you can as a manager, then you just take him, put him into the plane, 5 hours, done. Today, it's not a case, and we don't know how quickly it will become again possible. So we see that there is a demand, and we are already so we are doing this into streams. First, we want to have that the team on site will have a SoftServe feeling and SoftServe quality and SoftServe way of delivering things, because we believe that we are doing it very well, and this is being well recognized on the market. So we have to make sure that whatever we build on site will reflect our core values. So we will move some people, and we already this is like a process ongoing, or some people already have visas, and will transfer once the travel for such people will be possible to Singapore, and they will form core team. We'll have a designer, we'll have a BA, we'll have a solution architect, cloud architect, and on top of that, we also started recruitment locally in Singapore. And we also want to have a program manager, also some solution architect, which is local, which have a connection to the companies from the inside, but also understand the market, understand the culture. And those people will be, let's say, we will connect our experience with their knowledge. And this, we believe, will be the best mixture. And this will help us to thrive and then speed up even the growth beyond what we have right now. So answering the questions, yes, we plan, and even further, we already are doing it. And besides that, we also have partners. So it's quite difficult to build very quickly presence in Indonesia, for example, when you need to have like 10 people or 15 people in a project, and customer is asking that 50% needs to be local. So we also established some partnership, and we are using local resources from those partners before we are able to build the whole own office and the presence there.
I think it was the first episode when I was saying this is the last question. This is the last question. This is the last question. So we had a couple of the last questions. Pawel, it was great to have you on my show. So thank you very much. And now let's say goodbye and let's play some drums.
Thanks for having me. It's a great show. Thank you, everybody. See you.